Hey guys, I'm Matt, and welcome to another episode of The Music That Made Me, a journey through my life's soundtrack. Warning, it is kind of an eclectic one. First show was Fear Factory. Second show was a video game soundtrack, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. And now we are on to my favorite music album ever produced. And that is And Out Come the Wolves by Rancid. And specifically the song from the 1995 album, Roots Radical. I picked this song for a specific reason, and I'll get to it in a second. But the one thing about this album is, so I grew up in, I'm born and raised in South Florida. I'm still here. I know I'm wearing a Detroit Red Wings hat. I'm a huge Detroit sports fan because my parents are from suburban Detroit, and they moved to Florida. My brother and I were born. So my brother and I are first generation Floridians, but I was raised on Michigan sports. So there you have it. So besides that, in South Florida, specifically in the 90s, punk and ska were king down here. It was a massive, massive scene down here. And Rancid was pretty much the biggest punk band on earth, at least in my world, for quite a few years. And I remember when this album came out, it followed up another phenomenal album called Let's Go, which is, like I said, it's great in its own right. But And Out Come the Wolves really was like the quintessential, like almost like greatest hits album. Every song on this is fantastic. Time Bomb, Ruby Soho, Maxwell Murder, Journey to the End of the East Bay, Avenues and Alleyways, or is it Alleyways and Avenues? I always get that one mixed up. Lockstep and Gone. There's so many great songs on this album. But Roots Radical was the first song on this album that I ever heard. I'm not entirely sure if it was the first single released off of this album, but I remember turning on the radio once and I heard this song and I was in love. Time Bomb may have been the first single off this album, but Roots Radical was always the one that I gravitated towards. So the band is from Olympia, Washington, Seattle area. Like a lot of bands were back in the 90s, specifically out of the grunge era, but here's a punk band from there, from them as well. Tim Armstrong, Lars Fredriksson, Matt Freeman, Brett Reed were the original lineup. It is the original lineup, except for the drummer. Brett left the band in like 05, 06. And they're all great in their own rights. I actually have a story about Lars Fredriksson I'll get to a little bit later, but it was a really cool experience on my end. So for now, let's at least get this song started, and hopefully you guys can see why. I mean, I wore an Uncharted shirt, right? I have my Rancid and Out Come the Wolves shirt on. I did just buy these for the show. I've had these. Like I said, I was 11 years old when this album came out, so whether it was appropriate for me to be listening to it or not, who knows? But let's get to it, huh? And that's Lars Fredriksson on lyrics or on vocals. Him and Tim Armstrong rotated. Matt Freeman on the bass, one of the best basses, period. And Brett was just a metronome on the drums. Matt on the bass, you can hear him. There's Tim, very distinct voice. Before we get into that next chorus, it's a shorter song, so this will probably be the only other time I stop it, or this will be the only time I stop it. So what was really cool about this song in particular that I wanted to tell you guys is I have a very fond memory of this song, and I remember I was literally 11 years old, sitting on the floor of my bedroom in my first house, And I had our phone, which was wired, wasn't wireless phone, no, wired phone, old school. And I had my boombox set to 103.1 the buzz, and 103.1, or is this 95.5 WOV? No, this was the buzz. 103.1 the buzz was our local like alternative rock station, and they used to do festivals, and they really promoted punk and ska mostly, grunge as well, but they were big into the punk and ska scene, which was awesome for kids, especially Floridians, South Floridians. And I remember sitting on the floor of my bedroom, and back then, that's people, used to call into your radio station and request songs. They had the request line. And what was cool about 103.1, they always answered and they always played your song. Always. The caveat was, what people don't realize is that there's singles, at least back then, there were singles that the record companies specifically sent to all of the radio stations. So even though this album has like 16 or 17 songs on it, they would only have like maybe 3 or 4 off the album that they were allowed to play, because those were the songs that the record company wanted them to play. They couldn't just play any song. They had to play specific singles. So you only had so many songs to choose from. What was great is that this was one of those singles. So I remember sitting there with my brother and our neighbor, and we were calling in requesting songs. And I called in and requested Roots Radical by Rancid. And at the time, my friend and my brother, which is funny because my brother Mike has been in punk bands like basically his entire life, and I was in a band with him too at one point. But that's why I had drumsticks. I was a drummer in a band for quite a few years, but in a punk band. And I recommended, or I called in to request a song, and I got a lot of crap for it. It was very strange. Considering, we talk about it. It's hilarious. Now my brother's into the punk scene more than I am, specifically the newer stuff that's out. But again, that was just a fond memory of that. This song in particular, not only is, to me, that's funny, and it is a really great memory. And again, that's what music can do, is music can like really attach itself to you through memory. But anyways, let's get back to the song. Got a few more things to talk about at the end. Go back 5. I always got to remember to do that. Lars on lead guitar. Tim plays rhythm guitar.
He was on there, he was waiting for me. Well, all the punk rockers and the moon stompers who were out on the corners let us stare at the chairs. Cause the radio was playing, then the ticker was singing, and the 43 was as we climb up the hill. Good girl was a miniskirt girl, but blurry vision saw nothing wrong. With the music execution and the talk of revolution, it bleeds and near. Where to go? Get on the boat, the roots are radical.
He said Brett is just a metronome back there. Just in the pocket all the time. Great drummer. Very underrated. You got Matt playing his scales on the bass. Lars wailing on the lyrics right now and vocals and lead. Yes. I love that song so much. This album is just absolutely amazing. It's such an amazing album. So that is Roots Radical by Rancid, off of their album from 1995, and Out Come the Wolves. To me, it's the perfect album, specifically in an era of music that was, like I said on my first episode, Music for a kid. Uh, I don't know if it's the same for kids now. Like, I have kids. I have 3 kids, 12, 8, and almost 2. I don't feel like they're as attached to music as, like, my generation and generations before that. I think it's probably the quality of music. I mean, that's honestly probably what it is. There was different outlets for us back then too, or there wasn't different outlets for us. There's different outlets for kids now, so music maybe isn't as a priority. But music was escapism, and it was fun, and it was just, oh man, I want to do that. I want to do this. You know, I mean, I was in a punk band for like 6 years, 7 years. We opened for Black Flag on a reunion tour. You know, we didn't tour with them, but my band used to play all up and down Florida. You know, from Orlando to Miami, we played shows, you know, regularly. We used to play every other weekend in downtown West Palm Beach. So, I mean, we played a lot, and we played for some really, really cool people and played with some really awesome bands. The scene was great, and that was early 2000s. We did that, you know. I was in high school. It was like 2000, 2001. I was playing 21 and over shows when I was 16. Oldest person in our band was 18. I mean, it was wild times. Wild times. But quick story, Lars Fredriksson, who's a lead guitarist and co-head vocalist, we'll call him. What was really cool with him is I remember, actually, it's not a Rancid story. It's actually a Dropkick Murphys story. Dropkick Murphys is another one of my favorite punk bands. And another great album, Blackout, one of my favorite albums. But we went to go see Dropkick Murphys at this place called Spanky's down here, which has long been closed. And we come to find out that the lead guitarist for Dropkick Murphys recently broke his hand, and he's up on stage with this cast. And one of the opening bands for Dropkick Murphys was Lars Fredriksson's side project called Lars Fredriksson and the Bastards. And they're essentially what you just heard. They're more probably rock influenced, but they're punk rock and roll. And they were just touring with Dropkick. And when Dropkick announced that their guitarist, I can't remember his name, broke his hand, they said for the next few shows, Lars is going to fill in. So I get to see Dropkick Murphys with Lars Fredriksson playing the lead guitar for him. It was nuts. It was such a great experience. And again, that was the Sing Loud, Sing Proud tour for Dropkick Murphys. So that was early 2000s as well. We'll get there. So again, a lot of these songs that I'm going to be doing episodes on, have a deeper meaning for me. Some sort of experience that makes the song extra special. I haven't, like I said in my last episode, I have an emotional connection to music. I also have an emotional connection to like celebrities, I guess. Like a dumb story is when Ghostbusters Afterlife came out. Like, I cried 3 or 4 times watching that movie. I know it sounds stupid, but growing up and watching Ghostbusters 2, and then the way that they killed off Egon because Harold Ramis died in real life, that got to me. The music in the movie was all borrowed from the first 2 movies, so the nostalgia, it was too much. And like, I would hear like specific things in that movie, or I would see like references, and it would just get to me. So music's the same way, you know. Or like when somebody dies, like when Steve Irwin died, that was devastated. I was devastated when Robin Williams died. That was hard. So I have like this nostalgic kind of emotional connection to media, because I was always a big movie fan growing up and a music fan growing up. So that's why something like this and a song like this with that story of me sitting in my bedroom requesting the song, like, I still remember that. You know, that's 30 years ago. Like, literally 30 years ago. That's 1995. And I remember it like, I know exactly what happened. And it was an insignificant part of my life. Like, realistically. But like, my brain will attach to like these key moments. And it's usually revolving around music and movies. because that's always been like my interest. Like in another life, I should have been a director. I should have been, I mean, I am a writer, but I'm a fiction author. I should have been like a screenplay writer. I mean, technically I could still try to do it, but it's like I was always big into film, like with like the behind the scenes stuff I loved. And, you know, but again, that was Roots Radical, 1995, off of Rancid's And Out Come the Wolves. I highly, highly recommend this album. It is awesome. And it sounds great. Just like what we were talking about with Fear Factory, which was 1998. This is 3 years earlier than that, and the album still sounds so good. Because it's not overproduced. It's just good musicians making good music. So I really do appreciate you guys. Again, if you like what you're watching, please, please, please subscribe. Grow this channel with me. Tell your friends. Like the videos. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Music That Made Me.